we elected our new first selectman, a Democrat, our first selectman, and through the means of a flip of a coin, there were three Republican selectmen, one of which resigned, creating a vacancy. In the past, these vacancies have been filled by, if it was from one party, the vacancy occurred, that same party would be placed back into that seat. The charter and the statute allows for that to happen. However, it is clear to me and also to Mike that such an appointment would result in a challenge through a special election process. Our concern is such an election would be costly to our town, having to pay for another election. But quite frankly, more importantly, such an election would create a negative atmosphere, pitting neighbor against neighbor. No matter what the result of such an election, I fear our community would be torn apart. And I don't think, when you get down to it, I don't think any of us want to see that. Quite frankly, we care too much about our community to put it through such a divisive election. So Mike and I would like to propose a solution that does not force, once again, one voter group over another. So we would like to propose a compromise. The initial part of the compromise includes that Mike and I would not put forth a Republican to fill the vacancy. And I repeat that. Part of the compromise is that Mike and I would not put forth a Republican to fill that vacancy. And why is that so important? I think it was stated earlier, is if this goes beyond the 30 days, statute allows that to happen. So we're making it very clear tonight that.
Mr. Moore, I'd like to interrupt you for fact correction.
Shoot.
The Republicans who would appoint a replacement if it goes beyond 30 days
Right.
are those elected officials who serve the same term and who are elected on the same day, which is not only you and Mike, but you and Mike and Kay Peterson.
Kay Peterson, right. Which would be 3 Republicans. So in either case, I can speak for Kay. Kay is certainly not going to go, it would not be putting forth a Republican. Instead, we would ask that we get together, our colleagues here on the board, and agree on, as Mr. Teller had suggested, perhaps an unaffiliated voter. This person that we all can agree upon, and someone who quite frankly, we all feel will be an asset to our community and to the board. I think it is vitally important that whatever choice is made, it is made by all 4 members of this board. I feel, as Adam, you and I have disagreed a lot on a lot of things, but that is one point that we fully concur on. I think it's vitally important that we do that. Whoever that person may be, and there are a number of people who obviously can serve that. So I think by making such an appointment of an unaffiliated voter, we would boldly show our community that through a large bipartisan effort, that we all want to make a choice that is best for our community, no matter what party affiliation, while preserving town harmony for the remainder of the next 2 years. So I ask my Democratic friends to join with us and seriously consider this proposal as a means of resolving this unique situation. Unlike national politics, we in Bolton can show everyone that we can work together for the betterment of our entire community with a bipartisan solution to this situation. And I know this, and saying this, please sit down, but saying this tonight, that I would ask my Democratic colleagues to, and everyone here today, to consider this before we go forward with putting forward a candidate. And I feel that, you know, one contingent of our voter group that we look at, and is the largest voter group in our town, is the unaffiliated voter. It is one of the largest groups, and they just, I'm not being negative anyway, but, you know, there's not a whole lot of people who really want to get out there and run an election. Really good people who can serve this community, who have served and continually to serve this community through appointed or very other positions.
Mr. Morrow,
And I'll keep quiet, but.
what concerns me tonight is that this is not the first outburst I've had from Mr. Aramita. If I think back about 2 years ago, Mr. Aramita promised that he would make every day of my tenure on the board hell. And tonight he had another outburst. So I tend, although you profess to speak for him, I tend to disagree and would like to hear this from Mr. Aramita.
I agreed with Bob when he wrote that and put my name on it as well, and we talked about it a week ago, and I agree completely. And I didn't say that I would make your life hell. What I said was you were being nasty, and I wasn't gonna put up with it.
Mr. Pirog.
When my wife said something to you, you mumbled something underneath your breath. Would you repeat that to the public?
What?
When Mr. Adams was up there talking, she told you to calm down, and you mumbled something.
I don't
under your
remember
breath.
what it was, but it
Well, I
was an
do.
insult.
It was an insult to my wife.
No, it wasn't.
Please, gentlemen. I'm honored with the fact that you're fighting over me, but this is not the time or place. Is there any other public comment? Somebody in the back, I can't see who's raising their hand.
Barbara, me?
Okay, Barbara.
Barbara Moody. I have
Could you state your name? We have a new clerk this evening. That's
Barbara Amodio, Volpe Road, Bolton. A-M-O-D-I-O.
And I'm sorry, what's your
Volpe Road, Bolton. I was at the public meeting last time, and I also spoke, and never meant any disrespect to you, because I worked with you for a couple of years, and I like this whole board. But I did have a lot of disrespect for the process that took place, and I was really concerned about it, upset by it. I felt cheated by it. The only problem I have with what I'm hearing here is that it has to be, I like that you're compromising and work together, but I don't necessarily think it has to be an unaffiliated person. I think it needs to be someone you agree on. And, you know, again, I know that we all did kind of vote, and you guys were so close. And your statements, Mike, when I heard them repeated about what a great candidate, that you would be equally good, and we had voted for this person. You know, I'm just thinking that you don't have to stick to unaffiliated as you compromise.
Prior to that last election, I would have stood by what you're saying right now, but I was extremely offended. And the things that were said offended me to no end.
But I didn't hear-
And I'm,
Well, I was at
you
the
were one
same
of the ones
meeting,
that I was upset with the way you were talking.
but I was at the same meeting and never meant any,
I took it that
the
way from the
process
people
was
that spoke.
horrible, but it wasn't your process.
Point
You
of
didn't
order,
do
Madam
it.
I was part of the process.
Barbara has the floor.
I understand.
But
And-
you didn't do that, Mike. I don't know who, I have no idea, because I've never been in politics before, but somehow the Republican Party steered this young woman into something that is wrong. And I wasn't blaming you, because I don't think you had anything to do with it. I don't know who did it. And that's what upset me. I just couldn't believe that this was happening. And we were forced into this situation. So I meant no disrespect to you or to Bobby or to Sandy or to Gwen, who I've been working with for 4 years, at all. And I didn't hear that meant that way, but I thought that the process was horrible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the audience? I'm sorry. Pete, is that you?
Pete Bradley,
State your street, please.
22 Norman's Way, Bolton.
Norman's Way.
So I will preface this by saying I am somewhat unaccustomed to Bolton politics, but take just a couple of comments from my experience on other boards. I guess I find it troubling to see this new board personalizing things. You know, when you're on a board and you're dealing with a lot of different people, there are some people who are gonna piss you off. And Mr. Armida, I hope I'm not gonna be added to that list tonight. But it's something that you can't let get to you. You can't let the other board members get to you. You can't let the public get to you. Because it leads to things like what you were saying, which is, I'm so angry at this person that I'm actually going to make a decision that affects the town. And I just don't believe that we can be there. So, I think it's really important when we look at this. I think both what Mr. Mora has suggested and the idea of taking the next person in line from a vote count are reasonable approaches. I really like the idea of the fact that the Board of Selectmen has to have somebody they can work with. I'm not sure it makes sense to say that an unaffiliated voter represents all unaffiliated voters. I mean,